Right. Good evening, members of the RATPAC. I am Mike Dunlap, K7MYU, and I'm the Executive Vice President of the Voice of Idaho Amateur Radio Club. More than 5 years ago, the president and the vice president of the Voice of Idaho Amateur Radio Club became concerned about a number of things, one of which was the lack of usage on our local repeaters, as well as the capability of handling emergency communications across our region. At that time, John Kernkamp and Rick Briggs were proposing a way to link the VOI HF repeaters to make it easier to control the machines during times when access was difficult. And they proposed this as a site in the valley, which was capable of seeing each of the individual repeaters. And so there would be a single control point for 5 of the repeaters in the VOI system. One of the concepts was then to create a full-time linking of those 5 VHF machines to create a really wide footprint, much wider than the individual machines were capable of providing. This had the potential to combine usage of machines to provide for even greater activity. It was hoped that this would help new licensees gain greater involvement in the hobby by giving them someone to talk to. We were terribly concerned that many of the new technicians got on. They would announce themselves and there was nobody to talk to. The thought was that perhaps by linking machines into a wider footprint, it might be possible to have a greater group of people to chat with. Of even greater significance was the potential that Boise would be a staging area for a tsunami event off the coast. Those of you who have been tracking this know that the North American plate is locked right off the coast of Oregon, and the potential for that to break loose is extremely high, and an earthquake event has been predicted. Now, when that occurs, what will happen is, if it is significant, it will prevent access to the coastal regions from the Willamette Valley and also from the Seattle area into the coastal regions, because many of those roads go over bridges that are likely to be damaged in the case of an event. So FEMA is very, very concerned about being able to stage materials and to apply those materials if an event occurs. So they designated Boise as the staging area in the event that there was a major tsunami. One of the key ideas behind the linking of these machines is that it provides a footprint that will cover the entire staging area of the Boise area. So it's possible to have one set of machines be capable of helping FEMA to establish that staging area. Another key idea behind this was the potential to expand participation in nets and to extend our coverage into the backcountry. This increases the safety protocols in the backcountry. A grant was written to help fund the project. The ARDC, the Amateur Radio Digital Communications Group, graciously provided some funding for the project. After 5 years of really hard work, the project is now fully operational and is in its shakedown phase of adjustment and tuning. Now to share the project with you is Jay Vanwormer, Whiskey 6, Juliet Victor Whiskey, the technical director of the VOI. Jay?
Good evening, everyone. Jay Vanwormer, W6JBW. Everyone should be seeing my presentation lead slide talking about the overview of the Valley Floor Linking Project. The first thing I want to mention is the Valley Floor Linking Project was actually the project name. Now that the project is essentially completed, it has taken on a new name, which I'll get to later into the presentation. But the project was called Valley Floor Linking Project, and as Dr. Mike has explained, that was all about having a hub in the valley that links to all five of the, well, four of the mountaintop repeaters and one downtown repeater. So it's kind of like somebody mentioned this yesterday in a meeting that was kind of like a wagon wheel with spokes, and the wagon wheel center is the hub, and then the spokes go out to all the different sites. So if anything was an issue, then we could actually get to the hub itself being in the valley and deal with things um, the way it was before with only three repeaters. It was up on a mountaintop and things had problems and things didn't get fixed till the snow went away. So anyway, with that said, I'll go ahead and move on. And hang on one second. This should do it. There we go. So the Valley Floor Linking Project it is a full-time linking of 5 Voice of Idaho repeaters. We have many more analog and even digital repeaters, but we linked one repeater at 5 of our locations to make up this linking network. The goal was to create a wide area repeater footprint that permits an operator, even with limited power radios like handhelds and some other simple stuff, to have a very wide footprint across the Treasure and Magic Valleys. So on this map here, these are 5 of our repeater locations. It's not all of our repeaters at those locations, but those are just the 5 that are part of the linking system. The very top snowbank, that is at 8,300 feet. Next one down is Squaw Butte, that's right above Emmett. That's at about, I believe, about 5,700 feet. And Schaefer Butte is at the top of a ski resort right above Boise. And that one is also, I believe, around 7,500 feet. And then the one below that, Bench is a suburb of Boise, and it's actually right across the freeway from the Boise airport. And it provides terrific coverage of downtown Boise. Downtown Boise has an issue with a lot of shadowing to the mountaintops. They can't reach Squaw, and Schaefer's limited, and Snowbank's completely shadowed, and War Eagle is hit and miss. So the Bench repeater provides a terrific connection to the system from downtown Boise. Going to list the different repeaters with the frequencies: Snowbank, Squaw Butte, Schaefer Butte, Bench, and War Eagle. Those all have a 100 hertz input tone and various output tones. Here's a coverage map of the 5 linked radios, and you can see that the center of that mix is very, very green with almost no shadowing. I couldn't have it too detailed because I wanted to show how far the coverage area actually was, but that comes out to about 20,000 square miles that anybody with a handheld can reach. And the convenience is not only about the wide coverage area, but the options for reception. So they've got 5 different repeaters that they can, choose which one's best for them to talk into. And with that mix, like I said, that center area has a lot of overlapping coverage and eliminates a lot of the shadowing in between all those repeaters. Some of the benefits we already talked about, but it does enhance emergency communications. We have agreements with the city of Caldwell the county of Canyon in Idaho, and also through the Civil Air Patrol, which is falls under the Air National Guard, which falls under the United States Air Force. And our partnerships are going to be growing in the future. Another benefit also encourages newcomers with low-cost hobby engagement. A few years ago, a new licensee has to now pay $35 to the government to get the license, and so that's already one expense. And we don't want them to have a lot of equipment investment to find out if they actually like the hobby or not. So with this new coverage with our system now, that anybody can get a $25 Chinese radio and actually participate in the network and everything that happens on it, including all the nets. It extends communication for recreationists in the wild areas of Boise Valley and Oahe counties. I'm personally a member of an off-road club that goes out into those areas summertime and even winter time in those areas. And a lot of those areas do not have cell phone coverage, but it doesn't take too much to get in range of a repeater. The northern repeaters, which is the Emmett, covers really good and straight to the north and out to the west, and Snowbank covers Valley County really good, and Schaefer Butte actually covers Boise Valley and the Boise National Forest pretty good. Obviously, you get down into the deeper valleys, you're not going to have as much coverage, but anything happens, you just have to get up a little bit of elevation, and you'll get a hold of one of those repeaters. And I've done a lot of testing for coverage out in those areas, and it actually works pretty good. Extends the reach of nets. Whoever's running nets or has nets, who wouldn't want more coverage? So more nets means more coverage areas, which means more potential operators. The recommended protocol, and again, the top of the slide says Valley Floor Linking Project, but the recommended protocol has the new net name. So the new net name, the network name, is called the All Call, the VOI All Call. And so, like I said, the Valley Linking Project is a project name, but the actual system is now called VOI All Call. And the protocol is, you would give your call sign on the VOI all call, and you would even say what repeater you would be on. And the benefit of that is we would know what repeater on, and while we're monitoring, trying to analyze, that helps us know what repeater the input's being used on, and if we're hearing anything funky, we're kind of know that the the flow of audio through the input repeater, through the linking, and out through the repeaters. It helps us uh, quickly, more quickly, I should say, analyze the path and what the issues might be. So, example with the specific call sign, mine, this is W6JVW on the all call using War Eagle repeater. And another example would be Dr. Mike's call sign. This is K7MYU on the VOY all call using Squaw Butte. Now, with Dr. Mike, those that don't know, Dr. Mike lives in Horseshoe Bend, and he actually lives in those wilderness areas. Horseshoe Bend is kind of in a bowl and doesn't have very good coverage. He can get into Squaw, but Squaw prior was only connected to Schaefer, and he was missing out on a lot of valley communications and on a lot of nets that took place on other repeaters. So now with the whole system linked together, he can get to all the other four repeaters through the Squaw Butte repeater, and have massive coverage through one lone repeater from a little bowl that he lives in out there in Horseshoe Bend. And I mentioned this earlier, the VR repeater, repeaters, that should be plural, are all 100 hertz. Three of the repeaters have an output tone of 100 hertz, but we're going to be changing those. And the other two have the next one down, which is 97.4, I believe. We will be posting a graph on our website giving a simple, like a little spreadsheet type graph that shows the different inputs and outputs of the different repeaters. Um, we do have a number of unlinked standalone, full-time standalone repeaters, analog repeaters that belong to the VOY, and there's others in the valley too. And these repeaters are on Ion Hill. Um, that's a low-level repeater. It's at about 3,500 feet, I believe. It's about 8 miles south of Marsing on those hills out there. And I was actually surprised. I was up north. Um, Forget how far I was, but I was up near Weiser. And I was actually able to hear Ion Hill and the Weiser, and that surprised me that I was hearing it from there. So a lot of these different repeaters do have a lot of distance and coverages through in between in between mountain ranges. Another Iron Hill repeater is a UHF, the 442-900. We have another UHF repeater on the War Eagle. Remember, War Eagle's at about 8,000 feet, and that one's got great coverage from Oregon to eastern Idaho and northern Nevada, and Schaefer, which has great coverage of the Treasure Valley. Background on the linking project. Some of this was covered by Dr. Mike already, so I apologize for repeating. Um, I do have a access to a radio out in Southern California, so I do have access to all the Southern California repeaters out there, and I'm hearing the same thing out there that there's a lot of less activity in a lot of the repeaters. The Papa system was one I go on a lot, and that one a few years ago I'd have to wait a while before I could break in. Now it's very easy to get in and start a conversation because there's a lot less usage, and a lot of the other ones too out in Southern California. So it's a common problem, not just in Treasure Valley or Southern Idaho, but across the country. And for a size of a metropolitan area as the greater Los Angeles area, I see the same thing there. I should say, hear the same thing there. Um, and like I'm saying, is amateur radio repeaters are underutilized, and I can't say that enough, that they're definitely being underutilized. The ALL was also concerned with this issue. They've talked about a lot, even in communications or even in print, about the repeaters across the country being less used. Um, Even the ALL Idaho section talked about this a lot, and talked about you know taking some action to do something about it. Um, we were concerned about new detection operators and operators in general cannot find other ones to talk to. Dr. Mike mentioned this too, and something I would hear, because I have a scanner that I run and I monitor all the Treasure Valley repeaters. I hear people, the same people, they jump on one repeater, they jump on the next repeater, they jump on the next repeater, and just saying such and such monitoring, and waiting for somebody to respond back. And I'll hear this even simultaneously with other people on different repeaters. So, if we can get people to come to one repeater network, then they'll be more likely to have people to talk to have somebody respond to a request for a QSO. And I mentioned, creating a wide footprint by linking the machines is a potential improvement. This has been, um, I've been with the VOI for 4 years now, and when I joined the VOI, um, somebody mentioned about potentially linking machines together. And I was right on board with that as soon as I heard about that. It's a great idea. If the machines are actually being used, then you might think about, well, do we really want to have fewer machines? But I determined that our most utilized machine, which was the War Eagle, only had 5% utilization, and the rest of them have less than that. And that's just a waste. So, we talked about this more and more, and it's like, yeah, this is the path we want to go by putting all these together and utilizing these repeaters and trying to get more utilization with them. And like I said, knowing these things long ago, the VOI undertook this project to link the VOI repeaters together. Um, we There was some concern about not having standalones, having all our repeaters linked. At the time of discussions, 5 years ago, we had 3 less repeaters. So since this project started, we acquired more repeaters. The UHF repeater on War Eagle was an addition from 2 years ago, and the 2 repeaters on Iron Hill were an addition from about a year and a half ago. So this gave people the ability to do one of two things. Join the linked system, find someone to talk to, then they can find out, well, if you're within simplex with each other, obviously the rule is you go over to simplex. Well, for the link system, what you would do is if you're not within simplex range, then you determine which standalone repeater you're within, and then you can jump over to a standalone repeater and get off the link system and keep it open for more use. Right now we don't have that problem yet, but we're trying to plan and anticipate. So we saw the need for some standalone repeaters. There's been a significant group of people that have given their time and resources, and the club contributing money, and the ARDC providing a grant that paid for a lot of it also. But the other thing that the VOI has been doing over the years, and that's been my battle cry, is making our mountaintop repeaters, not just the linked system, but also all the standalones and the digitals and our digipeaters and those things more robust, and less likely to fail. So we've been implementing things to improve the reliability of the mountaintop repeaters. One of the things we did over the last couple years was to have redundant DC power supplies. So if one fails, there's another one that is still running. And if one fails, the other one's already, and there's no noticeable interruption. And the other thing that happens with that is when one fails, the courtesy tone for that repeater will change slightly, and it'll give us an indication then of there's a power supply failure up there. If it's wintertime, there's no getting up there, or difficult getting up there, I should say. But if it's not quite wintertime and it's still a little bit of accessibility, then we have a chance of getting up there before we're snowed out. In 2024, while we're implementing this everywhere, we hadn't quite done it at our Schaefer Butte site. We had a standalone home type power supply. It was an Astron, and it was a linear. It's a decent power supply, but it for some reason went OVP. It may have been some sort of electrical anomaly, lightning strike or something that happened. Put it in OVP and shut down the power supply, and that took 7 of our repeaters offline. And the ski season had started, and there was no way to drive up there, and the snow was so deep. They said snowmobiles can't even get to La Sink. So I wound up putting some gear and tools in a backpack and snowshoes and skied to the mountaintop. I took lifts and a skied and a lift and a ski and then lift and then snowshoed down to it and replaced it and got it up and running again. But now all the repeaters have redundant power supplies, so anything like that cannot happen again. It was a fun adventure, but I really don't want to do that again. So we're taking preventive measures to make sure these systems are more robust. We've also implemented a lot of remote control extensive remote control with our different repeater sites to where we can have control over a lot of different aspects of it. So if we have any problems, we can reset, or if we have runaway repeaters, we can shut them down. A lot of things we can do. And redundancies on that too, on how we communicate. We have multiple frequencies we get into the mountaintops on. We have a couple locations we can get through on the internet. So the more redundant and the more reliability you can make out of it, the better it's going to uh, be available, I should say, in case of an emergency. The other thing we're doing is replacing a lot of the older equipment with new equipment. All the controllers, for example, on all the mountaintops now are all brand new Arcoms, all the same hardware levels, same software, firmware revisions, everything. Moving on, so the team, led by a couple, which was Dr. Mike and John Kernkamp, put together a proposal and presented it to the ARDC. And yeah, the ARDC liked it so much, thought it was such a great idea that they gave us a grant for the amount of funds that we asked for. They gave us the full amount. So that was very flattering that they were that impressed with what we're looking to do. And this has already been said several times, but the main goal was to create a linked system that would unify VH communications across the southwest Idaho, and it's almost the entire southern Idaho. It can, not far to the west of Twin Falls, I was able to talk to War Eagle, which is one of the link systems now, with a 5-watt handheld, and talk to somebody out in Oregon. I was actually demonstrating to somebody. So it's got a huge footprint, which helps for, obviously the hobby, makes it fun for the folks, but when the need arises, we're pretty sure our system will be there. Next activities, we're going to be monitoring the system. Right now, everything is frozen. Anything that's related to the linked system is frozen. No software changes, no hardware changes, no equipment changes. Um, um, we were frozen everything until early next year. We're going to be monitoring functionality. I mentioned our control that we have. They're going to be testing those over time and repeatedly testing those, testing audio levels, and a lot of other activities. And we're just going to create a list. And then when we've completed the evaluation and the monitoring activities, we're going to have a big powwow. The technical team will have a big powwow and determine what we do want to do and priorities and things like that, and have a managed implementation of the changes instead of just doing things off the cuff. And because sometimes, you make a change and it affects something else. And as I mentioned, many adjustments will wait till the end of the evaluation period, unless it's something critical. Something goes down, has to be replaced. Obviously, we'll replace it, to keep the system and all the radios on the system running. If something goes down, we will take action, if possible, to get it back on the air. This email address was actually created a while ago for a different reason, but we wound up never using it. But it's still live, and I'm dedicating it to the link system where anyone can report issues to this email address, send an email to us. And there's several people that will receive forwarded emails from this email address. And again, on the bottom, report issues to, and it's tech@voiceofidaho.org. And once again, about the protocol, this is W6JBW on the VOY all call using War Eagle repeater, which would be the protocol. And with that, that's the end of the presentation. So does anybody have any questions? Well, let me
If you have any
rephrase.
questions, feel free to put them in the chat or
Yeah,
to raise your
let,
hand and we'll Make sure we acknowledge you.
Yeah, let me rephrase. What are the questions? I'm sure there's questions out there. So what are the questions?
I'll start you off with one. What is the predominant power source for these very remote repeaters? Are they on AC? Are they DC? Are they solar? Or how are they powered normally?
That is a great question. The answer is yes. So let me explain more. Um, the one at Snowbank is on commercial power with a backup generator. The one at Schaefer is on commercial power and has a backup generator. War Eagle, which is the one all the way to the south, is on solar and batteries only. But we do have redundant solar and charge controllers. So we have two sets of panels, each going to different charge controllers going to the batteries. So if one of the systems, fail, busted out solar panels or a charge controller go bad, we still have another charging system to charge them. We only have one load controller, but we're going to this year, before the snow locks us out, add a second charge controller, so we'll have redundancy there. So we'll have full redundancy at War Eagle, even though we don't have AC power. It's DC solar only. Squaw Butte is commercial power only, but we are going to approach the site owner and ask them if we can put up batteries and some solar panels on the tower. They got a huge tower, big footprint on it. So um, that's what I did at War Eagle when we expanded our panels. We're trying to figure out where to put the panels, and I'm like, why not on the tower? There's plenty of space right there to put them on near the bottom, and there's not much wind loading with that. And I did the calcs, and it was like a cup of water in the ocean for wind loading. And so that's what we did there. That's what we're going to propose for Squaw. So once that's done, we will have redundant power at all sites except for Bench. And Bench short term is going to be commercial power only. And when I say Bench, I should say downtown Boise is going to be commercial power only. We're looking at potentially changing to a different repeater that covers downtown Boise really, really as well as the one in downtown Boise, and has commercial and generator and um, battery backup powers. They've got a trifecta of redundancy of power there. And that would give us then redundant power at all sites.
Well, thank
Did
you.
I answer? You're
Yes,
welcome.
very well. And again, if you have any questions, please raise your hand or put them in the chat. And I'm going to ask you one more question while we're waiting to see, while we're waiting for questions. How
Lloyd
are
has
the
a question
links? Are
in
the
chat.
links done? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, Lloyd
I'm s-
has a question in chat. If he can say, what are the
Okay.
linking protocols?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to ask. Very good.
What was the question? I didn't hear it.
What are the linking protocols and what are the linking media that you're using? Is it radio? Is it internet? Is it and
Um, it's radio based. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, it is radio based. And if that answers the question, or if the protocols is about the linking of the repeaters, it's full-time linking. It's possible we could unlink a repeater for some sort of special event, but we also have standalones we could um, use for the special events. So it's doubtful that we would unlink any, but we can unlink any of them as we needed to. I see a hand, Marty, but you're on mute, Marty.
Better fix that. Thank you. I may have missed it. Are your batteries lead acid based or are they lithium iron phosphate type? And
Um,
if the former, do you have low voltage cutoffs on the batteries?
they are less the ones at War Eagle, which is the only location we have batteries at. They are lead acid, and yes, we do have low voltage cutoff. They cut off at 12.3, I want to say. Um, we never had an issue Well, I take it back. We had an issue one time. It was about a year and a half ago. We only had one charge controller. That was before we added the more panels,
Right.
and we're adding a second controller, but we only had one charge controller. And we have we also have telemetry that comes down from the mountaintop too, so we can monitor battery voltage.
Mhm.
And we noticed that we were, not charging, and so we were declining, we were reducing day after day, reducing battery voltage levels. So we quickly realized we lost a charge controller. It went 11 days before um, before the everything shut down in that mountaintop. So we've got 8 pretty large lead acid batteries up there that last a long time. And since then, we've added double the charge capacity and going to be adding a second charge controller.
How do you prevent the batteries from freezing in the wintertime?
Um, we don't, and it does freeze up there, and it does get deep in snow up there. But we've been pretty lucky, and those batteries are over 4 years old now, and they're lasting pretty good. We check them during the summertime every year to see how they're doing.
Mhm. Have the site owners given you made you provide any commitments or insurance or something with respect to like a battery splits and spills the acid or something?
Well, for War Eagle, here's the good thing, which obviously not everybody knows, but the Voice of Idaho is the site owner for War Eagle.
Okay.
We own that site, and it's only our equipment in that site. So the owners have given us permission, and so yeah. So I think that answers your question.
Thank you. Yes, appreciate it.
I wanted to add that those batteries up there are commercial batteries.
Yeah, they're very high quality. They are lead acid, but they are high-end lead acid batteries. And based on charging profiles, we set them up per the manufacturer's recommended charge profiles and everything. So we should get, and then the fact that we got 11 days out of them, when we're charging every day, we're not getting deep discharge cycles out of them. We're just barely discharging them a little bit during the day, or in the evening, I should say, because the solar is keeping them up during the day. And in the evening, when they use, it's little discharge, not very much discharge, and then first thing in the morning, they're back to full charge again. So they should last a long time, is what I'm getting at. When you go through deeper discharge and charge cycles, and you hurt the longevity of the batteries. So we are anticipating in the next couple of years maybe having to replace them. I don't plan on replacing one at a time. I mean, if one goes bad, the others are getting close to going bad. So we'll replace the whole lot of them.
Well,
Any other
congrats on all
questions?
this. You guys did an amazing job.
Yes. I had a quick question for you also. How do you let new hams know about this? Do you have a website for the repeater system, or is it just voice of mouth from person to person, or how do you advertise the fact that they're there and reinforce the protocol use?
Well, I'm going to defer that question over to Dr. Mike. Dr. Mike is also part of our marketing committee, and they've been talking about how to promote it. Yes, it's on our website. We've done some other things too, but we're going to be doing a lot more. So, Dr. Mike, can you field that question?
Yeah. This system has just now been turned on and set into operation. And so we have a pretty extensive program. We have a press release that's going out to the media. You actually caught us a little early. We would have given you this presentation in about 3 weeks or a month. But since you asked and we were in the process of drafting it, we're putting it together. We have plans to meet with all of the local radio clubs that are interested in meeting with us, making sure that they know about it and encouraging them to put it on their websites. We have some other promotional things in the woodwork to discuss it, and there will be a major ribbon cutting next month at the VOI membership meeting.
Well, thank you.
And we're letting RATPAC know.
Yes, that's the best way to get word out.
And we're going to be communicating with the other clubs, all our nets. The nets will start promoting it. The other clubs, some clubs actually have our information, repeater information on their websites because they use our repeaters, some of them. And we're going to get them to update their websites also to show the linked system. One of the clubs says that they use one of their primary repeaters, one of our repeaters, and their backup is another one of our repeaters. Well, now they're both linked together. So, and that's what their website still says. So yeah, we just need to get the word out to the clubs too and get them to update their information, update their net scripts also to mention that they are linked as a linked system and which ones they are. So there's a lot of activity going to happen about getting the word out. And Rob, KCNOD, has a hand up.
Does the repeater ID include a link to the website?
It does not, no.
That's something you may want to think about, because then anyone that hears the repeater would know where to go look for information on it, especially if they're passing through, if they're not from the Idaho area.
Yeah, our right now our IDs are Morse code and with a pretty quick key rate. So, but anyway, yeah, we'll talk about that. I'll mention that at the at one of our meetings. But Rob has a question or a comment.
Yes, go right ahead, Rob.
Yeah, just a comment, Jay, in response to the question about how are we getting the word out about the system. The system is actually doing that work for us in that nothing has changed. What we've described here tonight is that 5 of our club's existing repeaters are now all linked together through the system that Jay and Dr. Mike shared with the group tonight. But those are all the same repeaters that have been on the air for a number of years, most of them. So what we're really experiencing is just a much broader availability of contact opportunities with other amateurs through the linked system. So the system is basically marketing itself in other words, and it's going to be helpful to share the information with other clubs around the valley that the system exists. But by and large, hams who tune in to any one of the repeaters with any regularity, they know very quickly that they're all linked together. And we also, with regard to the putting the website information, we certainly do have a website for our club, and it describes the linked system. But we very intentionally have gone fairly minimal on the verbiage presented on the air, and hence the Morse code IDs for our repeater sites. So anyway, a couple of points just to fill out a little bit of that information. But the system, we think of it as a newly switched on, but that means that our final links were completed. But we've been incrementally growing this system, and now we're fully operational and into that test mode that Jay has described. So the system is just simply really an expansion of something that we've been doing as a club right along for many years. We just do it radically better now, and so we're very proud of the whole project. So anyway, thank you for that moment.
Well, thank you. Are there any other questions?
There's a couple of hands up. Lloyd went up first.
Oh, yes, I see them now. Yeah, go ahead, Lloyd.
Not necessarily a question, but I wanted to reinforce repeaterbook.com and the use of it there. W7VOI really is, when I looked at that call sign, it showed everything connected all together. And to give you an idea, furthermore, on repeaterbook.com, users that check in, repeaterbook.com has the capability for a marquee on top of the page that they're looking at. And we use that in Oklahoma for obviously weather, and keeping the gang informed about that. And also, if you're not doing it already, your section manager in Idaho would be if he's like me, puts out at least a periodic, I'll call it periodic. Many of them are monthly, some of them are less than that. Newsletter, and in that newsletter, you can get your stuff listed that would go to everybody in the section. And thanks for what you do up there in Idaho.
Dan, WL7.
Yeah, hello. And I was happy to see this listed in the RATPAC. At the very beginning, a couple things caught my attention. When you mentioned that FEMA has somehow indicated that Idaho would be a staging area, and it makes a lot of sense depending on how far and how big and bad the subsidence that's eventually going to happen will be. I don't want to touch on anything sensitive, but when you were reluctant to identify the protocol that's linking them all, it immediately came to my mind. And you mentioned that you personally are getting into some of the like the DARN and other linked repeater systems.
Right.
And I'm just, if how do I say this? In the amateur radio service, we're experimenters, and it's a wonder. You made a lot of progress in a short time, I think, with what you've done, and I will be looking at your webpage as soon as it's open. But and it may be not. How do I say it? There may have to be developed a protocol for the linking of linked repeater systems, because if you're and that will take a lot of cooperation and hopefully standardization. And I'm just wondering how all of those kinds of issues impact, however, the communications with the FEMA people that are presumably aware of and are willing to have you help them make communications, to what's left of the coast.
I'm not sure who wants to answer that question.
Maybe nobody.
Yeah, I don't see who all's on here from Voice of Idaho, so I can't go out and ask. All I see is Dr. Mike and Rob, but we have had discussions about possibly linking some of our standalones or one of our standalones to another linked system. Like it's called the Intertie out here. Maybe they'd be interested in doing something like that. And then in the future, we could actually, if we had to, or if it would be beneficial, especially in an emergency situation, we can connect the two systems together and have a multi-state system. We've been talking about things like that and how much more we could benefit with additional linking capabilities, not necessarily for a time, but just having capabilities there that we could link to other linking systems.
I want to add that the VOI has strong links to Idaho Emergency Management, and we have people in our club who are ARES members and who help to coordinate the ARES activity. And so if there is a subduction event, then Idaho Emergency Management is going to be right in the center of it. And we have a secondary linkage off of that.
Okay, I think that I think it might need to be when rather than if.
Of course.
And okay, good. And so, how do I say it? Openly sharing what you got going, and enabling open communications with other groups, all other groups in the amateur radio service, and the authorities having jurisdiction is probably as much or more of an effort than putting together a couple of linked repeaters. So, and how do I say it? I'm envious. The days when I could get involved with something like that around here ended a couple decades ago. And there's I don't know how many linked repeater systems you can reach from what's on the mountaintop 5 miles away here. Seems like I'm always discovering new ones.
I'd like to add as a footnote, we have made this presentation to the Idaho section, and the information is in the section newsletter. And so, yes, we're pursuing that angle as well. Oh, and the website is voiceofidaho.org. Is that right, Rob? voiceofidaho.org. So if you wanted to check out website, somebody mentioned website, voiceofidaho.org.
Got it.
If I might jump in for another comment, would that be okay?
Yes, go right ahead.
Yeah, just to allay any concerns that you might have about our linking protocols, we made an intentional decision early on that we would continue our club's use of radio for our linking, our backbone links is a better way to put it. So we have intentionally not embraced use of the internet for that purpose, largely because as we continue to harden our power capabilities, the radio links we believe will prove more resilient for the long pull. And with that said, let me be clear that Jay was not being evasive with regard to the linking protocols out of any need to protect any confidential information or agreements, except to say that we are using, and he said, we are using radio, and we absolutely are. We're using amateur authorized frequencies, doing typical people who link repeaters with radio do it this way, frequencies and codes and all of that kind of stuff. The purpose in not blurting out all of that information is just simply to reduce the opportunities for us to experience interference on our basically link and control frequency set. So please be assured that we're doing very typical amateur linking stuff using all normal FCC authorized, no secret agreements, no backroom deals with FEMA. What Mike and Jay have alluded to is that the equipment and the setup that we've created will be a potential additional link in a communications backbone to provide emergency communications here in Idaho. And we're interacting with the government agencies at various levels to be sure that they understand the kind of capabilities that we have and how we can best interact with them. And that's all going swimmingly well. So please don't misunderstand our little bit of evasion on not blurting out the frequencies. We're just doing typical repeater linking stuff with typical amateur frequencies. And I hope that better explains that.
The question was just about protocols, not frequencies. And the amateur radio service has a lot of ways. Well, I won't go into it too much here, but you mentioned the need to keep some of that out of the common public pass around 11-meter group. Is well understood. And, to that end, one of the versions of DMR is exceptionally handy in that. But even so, I don't think I would want to rely on DMR for all the connectivity. Thank you.
I can assure you, we rely on DMR for none of our connectivity. So there's that.
I want to add, I got a flash when that first came up. In the past, in order to link repeaters, there was a code that the individual used to link a particular machine in. The reason that protocols and to do that are not necessary is because the machines are full-time linked. The individual doesn't have to do anything to link them. They're linked. So those particular codes or those particular protocols aren't needed.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. We have Lloyd, his hand up again.
Thank you. And in the Department of Redundancy Department, it's important that we recognize that there are people who don't want us to talk. And yes, that's true. And Homeland Security would champion that you have the ability to work around a failure at any point on that chain. I would welcome you to look at the Amateur Radio Emergency Digital Network and their mesh phone. And they they're much like you are in the beginnings in some places and light years ahead in others, using mesh phones, connectivity from point to point that might enhance that. And if you use mesh phone, you get the added benefit of the hams over IP and amateur wire phones that are growing in popularity along with the late Ham Shack hotline. So do look at that, and I do champion the concept of keep your secrets secret. I don't need to know how you're doing it. Your answer was, we're doing it by radio. That's good, because that means that you're not doing some other linking projects, and that's okay too. Thank you.
Well, not seeing any more hands. Do we have any more questions before we close the meeting down? Before we go any further, though, I'd like to thank Mike and Jay for coming on tonight. I know you guys we sort of pushed you a little bit earlier than you probably planned, but we're always happy to have you here. And if you want to come back at some point in time with more information, we'd be happy to have you back again. So, quick round of applause for our presenters tonight. And just a reminder, RATPAC is meeting on Wednesday nights. We don't have our Wednesday program finalized yet for next week, but we will have a program next Wednesday night. And this program is being recorded and will be posted probably by Saturday or Sunday at the latest. So, thank you, everyone.
Can I make another comment?
Yeah, go right ahead, Dan. I'm sorry.
Include ARDN, Amateur Radio Emergency Data Network, has been spectacularly effective for things like we're talking about. And it's growing in leaps and bounds. There's a bunch of professionals working on it. It's amazing the progress they've made in the last 4 or 5 years. And the other one is WinLink. And as sort of the most widely accessible of the automated communications data systems that can be used by authorities having jurisdiction very easily. um, under the auspices of legitimate amateur radio systems. And then, of course, there's the shares, which your county and state government is doing a very good job with, as far as I can tell. So thank you for everything you're doing.